13 miles from Arizona. The sun was unforgiving as I blinked my eyes open, the harsh rays of light slicing through the thin leaves of the bushes I had woken up behind. The scorching desert air hit my lungs like fire as I struggled to sit up. My head throbbed painfully, and the world around me was a blur of sand, dry earth, and endless blue sky. I didn't know where I was or how I got here. What happened? I muttered, running a hand through my messy hair, trying to piece together what had led me to this desolate place. I felt an unsettling sense of confusion creeping over me. A dull ache in my stomach made itself known. I hadn't eaten in who knows how long, and I couldn't remember the last time I had felt this disoriented. Everything about my surroundings screamed desert, the kind you see in movies, the kind where you're never supposed to end up. Squinting through the heat and haze, something caught my eye. A road sign stood stubbornly in the distance, its colors faded by the relentless sun. 13 miles to Arizona. Arizona. The thought of it felt almost surreal. Was that really where I was? And how far was 13 miles really? It didn't seem that far in my clouded state. If I could just get to Arizona, I'd figure it out. I had to. I pushed myself to my feet, my legs shaky but determined, the weight of my own confusion pressing on my chest. I staggered forward, taking a few unsteady steps, squinting in the direction of the road, trying to find a path. The sun beat down on me merciless and my mind was still foggy. I was hungry. I was thirsty. My throat felt like sandpaper. But I kept going, putting one foot in front of the other. The desert stretched endlessly, a relentless sea of sand and scrub. It felt as though nothing existed outside of this moment, this vast emptiness. Then, in the distance, I saw something unusual, almost too good to be true. The stand. A t-shirt and water stand right in the middle of nowhere. The sight was absurd, as if someone had placed it there for no reason other than to mock my fragile state of mind. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and squinted again. A t-shirt and water stand? I muttered to myself, chuckling. In the middle of nowhere? How odd. My mind was spinning, but I thought it could be a mirage. People talked about those things in the desert. The hallucinations, the shimmering objects that seemed to float above the sand, only to disappear the moment you tried to reach them. Maybe this was one of those. But something in me couldn't help but walk toward it. Despite my skepticism, I decided to take a chance. As I walked closer to the stand, the image stayed solid. Strange, I thought, as I came within a few feet of the stand. I was about to turn away when I heard someone call my name. Hey, Dev. I froze mid-step. Dev, my name. The voice was unmistakable. It came from behind the stand. The person who spoke sounded familiar, but I had no recollection of ever meeting them. I turned around, scanning the small structure. A man stood there, leaning lazily against the counter. His clothes were unremarkable, a faded t-shirt and jeans, but his smile was wide, almost too friendly. How do you know me? I asked, my voice hoarse. The man's smile deepened. You're my best customer, he said, as though it was a fact. You come here every day. No, I replied, shaking my head, trying to ignore the tightening sensation in my chest. I don't. But the man wasn't backing down. Yes, you do. He reached under the counter and pulled out a stack of photographs. He laid them out one by one in front of me. I stared at the pictures in disbelief. In each photo I was there. Same face, same pose, same drink in hand. The setting might have been slightly different in each one, but there I was over and over again taking the same picture in the same place, buying the same t-shirt. How long have I been here? I whispered to myself, trying to make sense of the inexplicable. The man smiled again, more smug than ever. You come every day. Same shirt, same drink. It's your thing. I couldn't comprehend it. I stared at him for a moment, then turned and walked away, my heart pounding. This had to be a mirage, some weird hallucination. It was just the desert playing tricks on me. As I kept walking, the stand grew smaller and smaller behind me, eventually fading from view. A sense of relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. The oddities I'd just witnessed stayed with me like a heavy fog that refused to lift. I pressed on, my goal still clear in my mind, Arizona. The road ahead seemed endless, but I kept my eyes on the horizon, telling myself I was getting closer. Just a few more miles, I told myself. Suddenly, the roar of an engine broke the stillness, and a charter bus sped past me. The dust it kicked up seemed to hang in the air like a cloud. I squinted, barely able to make out the writing on the side of the bus. The Great Farewell. The name gave me a strange, unsettling feeling, but I couldn't place why. Before I could think about it for too long, my attention was pulled away by a figure standing on the side of the road just a little ahead. She was a vision, a woman who seemed entirely out of place in the desert. Her skin was a rich brown, and her short, dark hair framed her face in a way that made her look effortlessly confident. She wore a short red skirt, high heels, a crop top, and oversized sunglasses. Her figure was alluring, and there was something about the way she stood, hands on her hips, a playful grin on her face, that made me feel drawn to her. "Hey, can you lend me a hand?" she called out to me, bending over her trunk as if searching for something. I walked over, trying to shake the odd magnetic pull I felt toward her. "Sure, what do you need?" She rose up from the trunk, and when she looked at me, it was as if the world stopped for a moment. There was something in her eyes, something electric. She looked me up and down, her lips curling into a smirk. "Everything," she said, her voice low, teasing. I was taken aback, a little flustered. But somehow, I felt strangely comfortable with her, like we were already connected in some unspoken way. I looked at the car, an immaculate 1995 red Mustang, spotless despite being parked on the side of the road. It didn't make sense for a car in such perfect condition to be abandoned like this. "Is this just a flat tire?" I asked. She shrugged, looking helpless. "I guess so." I sighed, grabbing the spare tire from the trunk. For the next hour, we worked together to change it, laughing at small things and joking as if we had known each other for years. Her flirtatious comments never ceased, and every touch seemed to send sparks through me. I finished changing the tire, stepping back to admire my work. "Well, it's done," I said. She smiled at me, her eyes twinkling. "You're so fine. Need a ride?" I felt no hesitation, no alarm bells ringing. It was as if I had known this moment was coming, like it was part of some larger, forgotten plan. I nodded, and she pointed to the driver's seat. "Drive." I slid into the driver's seat and started the engine, my heart racing with excitement. It felt good to be in control, to finally be on the move again. "What's your name?" I asked, glancing over at her. "Carla," she said, her voice sweet but dark, like honey mixed with danger. As soon as she said it, a sharp pain pierced my head, a migraine unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. My vision blurred, and I saw flashes of images. Her face, different clothes, different situations. I felt as if I should remember something, but I couldn't grasp it. I gasped. "I know you, don't I?" Her laugh sent chills down my spine. "Haha, you sure used to." She leaned forward, her voice suddenly cold. "Stop." I slammed on the brakes, the car screeching to a halt. The faint sound of motorcycles grew louder, and in a moment of panic, I realized that I had made a terrible mistake. The motorcycles roared toward us, and before I could react, a man appeared beside the car, his face twisted in anger. "So this is who you've been with?" He sneered at Carla, his voice venomous. Without warning, he wrenched the door open, pulling me out of the car and throwing me to the ground. His friends followed, kicking and beating me as I tried to protect myself. The pain was unbearable, and the world started to go black. The last thing I saw before I passed out was the same sign I'd seen earlier, 13 miles to Arizona. A young woman sat in a dimly lit room, her eyes fixed on a computer screen. A slow smile spread across her face as she watched the events unfold before her, the same familiar pattern repeating itself. "The days he acts like this are the most fun," she said, her voice filled with satisfaction. The end.
Mm-hmm.